Why did you lose?
So look, this was always going to be a really tough battle. It was a disappointing, but actually we didn't lose. We
No,
didn't.
I'm sorry, I don't
win
know
it.
what you
We
don't
didn't gain
understand.
it.
You didn't. You did lose. I don't know what you don't understand, Amanda. You lost.
So this was a Labour hold.
Yes.
It was not a Labour win. But actually, I just want to.
So it's
also
not
pay
a Labour
tribute.
win. What do you class it then?
Well, at the end of the day, this was theirs to lose. This was
And they
theirs
didn't.
to,
They won.
but they only held on by a matter of a few hundred votes. Just over 300 votes.
Amanda
And
Milling,
let's be honest.
do you imagine if England beat Ukraine by 1 goal tomorrow night that goes in off the referee's backside on the 89th and a half minute? Do you think England fans will say, oh, we didn't really win, did we? So shall we be candid with each other? There's a problem for the Conservative Party, and just having your leader and Prime Minister arrive, eat an ice cream and walk along the prom and talk about the vaccination programme doesn't cut it any longer, does it, Amanda Milling?
So look, governing parties don't gain by-elections, don't win by-elections, particularly at this stage after 11 years in government. The result that we had in Hartlepool was extraordinary, but actually the fact that we were just over 300 votes away from kind of gaining the seat, it was exceptional in itself. And each of every one of these by-elections is a tough battle. Each one's unique. This was always going to be a tough fight for us.
Do you think the good folk of Batley and Spen turned their back on the Conservatives because of incompetence or sleaze?
So look, there was a whole host of different issues that came up on the doorstep. What we ran was a positive campaign on the issues that really mattered to the voters. We were out on the doorstep day in, day out, trying to make the case. And let's not forget, this has been a Labour seat for nearly a quarter of a century. It was always going to be incredibly tough in order to gain this seat.
But why did you send the Prime Minister up there to canvass if you didn't think you had a realistic chance of winning?
Look, the Prime Minister...
It's the end of the demolition of the Red Wall, isn't it, Amanda Milling?
This is one by-election. We were very, very close to gaining it from Labour. Actually, Labour have got a lot of answers to questions to answer.
I'm looking...
This morning, you were favourites to win. Why didn't you?
So it's a really disappointing result. But first of all, I want to pay tribute to Ryan Stevenson, who's been an absolutely fantastic candidate. He's worked his heart out day in, day out, and also to congratulate Kim. But this was always going to be a really tough battle for us. We didn't win this in 2019. Governing parties don't tend to win by-elections. And we have to be clear on this. This is a Labour hold, not a Labour gain, not a win.
You were favourites to win. I mean, the polls were suggesting that you would get 47% of the vote. You got 34%. Why do you think that is?
I suppose the one thing I would always say about elections, there's only one poll that matters, and that's the one on the day. We fought a really hard campaign, but what I would say is it was a very, very close result. As I say, governing parties don't win by-elections. They certainly don't gain by-elections.
You've certainly lost 2 on the bounce, haven't you?
So each of these by-elections is a unique challenge. It was really disappointing to lose Chesham and Amersham. But, we fought a really hard fight. But let's be really clear about this. This is not a great win for the Labour Party. We really kind of took the fight to them. They only won by a matter of just over 300 votes.
How much was this the inability or incompetence of Boris Johnson to sack Matt Hancock?
Look, when the story broke within 24 hours, Matt resigned. It was the right thing for Matt to do, to resign. And, we had a new health secretary. And now Sajid Javid is focused on kind of the job in hand in terms of getting these vaccines rolled out so that we can start to open up the country and get back to life as normal.
Lastly, it's the bad old days, isn't it? It's Conservatives, senior Conservatives having affairs. It's the allegations of jobs being handed out on the public payroll. It's allegations of sleaze. It's the same old Tories, isn't it, Amanda Milling?
Look, when you look at this result, you see that we came incredibly close to gaining a seat from Labour. That in itself was quite exceptional. And, it's quite an exceptional result to be so close to gaining a seat at this point in the electoral cycle after 11 years in government.
It's the Hancock effect, isn't it?
So there's a whole load of issues that affected, our campaign. It's lots of issues that come up on the doorstep. We fought a really hard campaign. I'm really disappointed, and particularly disappointed for Ryan. But, at the end of the day, this wasn't a great result for Labour.
You have to concede that the behaviour of your former Health Secretary must have had some impact on people in Batley and Spen who are honest, hard-working people and don't like the way he behaved.
So, it was something that came up on the doorstep. I have to be honest about that. But then
What did people
lots
say
and
on
lots
the
of
door?
different
What
things.
did they say?
They had some issues over the weekend in terms of, what happened, but Matt resigned, and that was the right thing to do. But there's a whole host of different issues that came up. But we also need to remember that governing parties don't gain by-elections. And actually, taking it to such a small number of votes in itself was a tremendous result. Quite extraordinary, I would say.
So the people in Batley and Spen at the weekend were saying, we don't like the way that he behaved, and I'm guessing they also weren't particularly pleased with the way that the Prime Minister said the case is closed in a very superior manner.
So, Matt did the right thing at the weekend, which was to resign. And within 24 hours of the story breaking, we had a new health secretary, and Sajid Javid is doing a tremendous job. He's literally kind of working hard from day one, because at the end of the day, we're still in the middle of this pandemic. We've got a job to do to ensure that we roll out these vaccines so that we can then open up the country and get back to life as normal.
Any answer to my question? What were people saying about the Prime Minister at the weekend?
So there's a lot of love for the Prime Minister. He gets a tremendous lot of support on the doorstep. And, as I say, Matt did the right thing to resign, and within 24 hours we had a new health secretary.
Yeah, a lot of love on the doorstep didn't translate to a win, though, did it? Let's talk about Matt Hancock. What's happened as far as the investigation is concerned into his behaviour?
So the matter for investigation is something that I'm not here to discuss this morning.
Why not?
The thing is, we had a by-election. We've just had a result in.
Yeah, we've dealt with that. We've dealt with that. Why is there no investigation into Matt Hancock? You're the co-party chair.
So I don't talk about investigations,
Why
if you
not?
understand, because individual cases are such.
Has one begun?
And I'm not, like I say, I'm not going to get drawn into any
Has an investigation begun into what happened?
So, as I say, I'm not going to get drawn into any kind of discussions in terms of investigations.
Why not?
All I would say
But I don't understand why not. We should know what's happening as far as the former Health Secretary is concerned. He was snogging his aide in his office when he was supposed to be dealing with the pandemic, tried to hang on. Prime Minister said the matter was closed. The British public said, hang on a minute. As a result, he stepped down. We should know what's happening as far as the investigation is concerned.
So,
surely it has to be transparent. Surely it does.
So in terms of, all I would say is this morning I'm here on the back of a by-election result. We have literally taken Labour to a few hundred votes.
And you acknowledge as part of that by-election, it was the behaviour of the former Health Secretary that cost you that result.
There's lots of different issues.
So I'm asking you as a follow-up question, what happened in relation to the investigation?
So there was a lot of different issues that came up on the doorstep. And,
This being one of them.
actually, let's look at this result. It was an incredibly good, we were really so close. And governing parties shouldn't be within a whisker of gaining by-elections.
Yeah, you were close, but as you said, there's only one result that matters, and you lost. As far as him employing his mistress at taxpayers' expense, what's happening as far as that's concerned?
So there are, some of these matters are matters for the government. And,
No, they're matters for the public. They want to know about the former Health Secretary paying his mistress £15,000 of taxpayers' money. What are you doing about it?
So there are processes that we go through in terms of appointments, and that all the processes were gone through in accordance to those. And so, so I think that kind of answers your question.
Well, it doesn't. I have a follow-up, if I may. Did you know that he was paying his mistress £15,000? So,
like I say, there was a story that broke last week. I didn't know any of the details of that. But there are due process in terms of these appointments, and those processes were gone through.
And does that due process allow for a minister to pay £15,000 to his mistress?
So this is a story which, Matt has rightly resigned. He recognised that he did wrong, and that we now need to move on. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Sajid Javid has taken on as a health secretary. He's doing a tremendous job, because what we need to do right now, when they're still in the middle of this pandemic, we need to get these vaccines rolled out in order to be able to get the country back to normal.
Yeah, however, we don't move on until we find out why he was paying his mistress £15,000 to snog in his office.
But that was an appointment that was made through due process.
Well, how can it be through due process when he was paying his mistress? Whatever process you look at, by whatever measure, that is not acceptable to the British public to the extent where you've lost a by-election.
So I know the public will be incredibly frustrated because at the end of the day, we have all made a huge number of sacrifices. We want to get back to normal, but Matt did the right thing by resigning.
So is the matter closed now? Is that what you're saying?
He's now resigned, so I would see that as kind of the matter is closed. But
so there is no investigation?
As I say, Matt has done the right thing in terms of resigning, and I understand the public are kind of frustrated, have been deeply frustrated by kind of all of the issues that we faced over the last 12 months, the sacrifices they've made. But I want us to all pull together as we kind of get those vaccines rolled out so that we can get the country back up and running.
Will there be an investigation or not?
As I say, I think the matter is closed now. Matt has resigned.
So there won't be an investigation into our health secretary during the middle of a global pandemic where we've lost 120,000 people just in the United Kingdom. He's spent some of his time paying his mistress £15,000 a year, taking her on G7 trips up to Birmingham and snogging her in his office. The matter is closed as far as that's concerned. No investigation.
He
broke the law.
So, Matt resigned at the weekend. He is no longer the health secretary. And, now our focus has got to be on getting those vaccines rolled out and getting the country back to normal.
He broke the law.
I think that, people have made mistakes in the UK in terms of the rules during the course of the last 12 months, as you know yourself. And so, I think Matt has resigned.
He broke the law.
Matt has resigned, and
So there should be no comeback as far as the health secretary is concerned, and he should be welcomed back to government within the course of a year, which is apparently what he's planning to do.
Well, the matter for kind of who is appointed to ministerial positions is a matter for the Prime Minister. Right now, Matt did the right thing by resigning.
And the fact that he broke the law, that's the matter closed.
As I say, people have broken the rules, Kay, as you well know. And so Matt has resigned.
As you know, you've made the point twice, as you know, I was sanctioned. I was off air for 6 months. I don't make policy, you do, and he certainly did at the time.
He's realised
Does he have to face any comeback as a result of breaking the law during a global pandemic and snogging with his assistant?
He did
Not
the
his
wrong
assistant,
thing.
his aide.
He did the wrong thing. He recognises that, and he resigned, and that was the right thing for him to do.
OK. Is there going to be an investigation?
As I say, Matt has resigned.
Is there going to be an investigation?
Matt has resigned, and, we've now got a new health secretary, and, we have got to focus now on whether, getting this country back up and running, getting these vaccines rolled out.
OK, so when he was supposed to be making policy and when he was rolling out these inoculations and when 120,000 people died and when he was telling people that they couldn't hug their grandmother before they died, all of that while he was also having a relationship with his aide in his office and also paying that aide £15,000 of taxpayers' money, that doesn't warrant an investigation.
So, look, I can understand why the public would be deeply frustrated. We have all made so many sacrifices, people up and down the country who haven't been able to be with their loved ones. But Matt has resigned. He recognised he did wrong. And, the public, understandably, are frustrated.
Yeah, they are. That's why you've lost a by-election.
The reason we
and you're sitting here this morning and saying it doesn't matter.
So, we didn't lose a by-election.
You said it was brought up on the doorsteps.
What happened is that Labour held the seat. They held the seat only by a whisker.
You were.
This is not a great success for the Labour Party. And
it's
why
a loss for you.
And why it's not a loss for us because we didn't gain the seat. It wasn't ours to lose. It was the Labour Party's to lose.
What can you tell us? Lastly, it seems a bit of confusion. The Prime Minister is determined to try and hit that unlock date later this month, but some precautions must stay in place. Can you give us an indication what they might be?
That we're doing everything we can to get this vaccine rolled out so that on the 19th of July we can get to that next stage, step 4 in the roadmap, getting back to life as normal.